The clock read 7:15 a.m. when I opened my eyes, expecting the usual chorus of "Happy Birthday" from my husband and kids. Instead, silence greeted me like an unwelcome guest. No giggling children peeking through the doorway. No aroma of fresh coffee or pancakes wafting from the kitchen. Just emptiness. "Greg." I called out, my voice echoing through our suburban Boston home. "Tyler?" "Emma." My feet touched the cold hardwood floor as I wrapped myself in my robe. The house felt different, hollow somehow. Every birthday for the past decade had started with chaos and celebration. My husband Greg would orchestrate some elaborate breakfast while the kids bounced around with handmade cards. It was our tradition. All week Greg had been dropping hints about my 35th birthday gift. "It'll make history," he'd whisper in my ear before bed, his eyes twinkling with what I thought was affection. "You'll never forget this one, Rachel." He was right. I'd never forget. Room by room I searched the silent house. Tyler's dinosaur-covered bed was empty, Emma's collection of stuffed animals abandoned. In the kitchen I found no note on the refrigerator, our family's message board. Just the bright yellow post-it from yesterday reminding everyone about Tyler's baseball practice. Unease settled in my stomach as I brewed myself a cup of coffee. Maybe they'd gone out for birthday supplies? But why so early, and why take the kids on a school day? As I sat at our kitchen island, the custom phone notifications I'd programmed for my cybersecurity clients pinged. Force of habit made me reach for my laptop. I'd built my career protecting businesses from digital threats. Ironic considering what happened next. A Facebook notification appeared. "Tyler Walker has tagged you in a post." My 12-year-old son rarely posted anything without my approval. Curious, I clicked. The image loaded slowly, revealing a vista of pristine beaches and turquoise water. My husband's sun-kissed face beamed next to Tyler and 9-year-old Emma, all three wearing sunglasses and holding tropical drinks with little umbrellas. The geotag read "Four Seasons Resort, Bali." But it was the caption that stole my breath. "Dad's treating us since Mom's too predictable anyway. #Saringpuri, #best ever." My hands trembled as I set down my coffee mug. Predictable? My mind raced through recent conversations, searching for clues I might have missed. Had Greg complained about me to our children? Had they been planning this escape? I scrolled through the comments. Greg's sister had written, "She needed a wake-up call," with a laughing emoji. My mother-in-law, "Sometimes a man needs to have fun without chains." Even Emma had commented, "Mom's birthday is boring every year anyway." The timestamp showed they'd posted just 20 minutes ago. 8:30 p.m. Bali time. They must have left while I was sleeping, taking an overnight flight halfway around the world. Without a word. Without me. My cheeks burned with humiliation as notifications poured in from mutual friends viewing the post. "Rachel, did you know about this? Are you guys okay? Why aren't you with them?" Years of cybersecurity training kicked in automatically. I opened my laptop and pulled up our family's location tracking app, the one I'd insisted on for emergencies. 3 dots blinked together on the other side of the planet. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my mother, probably seeing the same posts and wondering what was happening. I couldn't face her questions. Not yet. Instead, I navigated to our joint bank account. There it was. A charge for $15,758 to a travel agency 3 weeks ago. First-class tickets. Premium resort booking. All meticulously hidden from our shared transaction alerts. Something that would require deliberate effort on Greg's part, knowing my attention to financial details. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated. I found myself moving mechanically to my home office. The small room where I'd built my cybersecurity consultancy from scratch after leaving corporate America to have more time with my family. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd stepped back from a 6-figure salary to be more present, while they'd flown to another continent to escape me. My desk faced a wall of certifications and awards. Recognition from an industry that valued my ability to identify vulnerabilities and protect systems from attack. People paid me substantial sums to secure their digital lives while my personal life had just been hacked in the most devastating way. I opened our cloud storage where family photos were automatically uploaded. New images appeared from Greg's phone. Check-in photos, boarding passes, selfies in the airport lounge with excited kids. In one, Greg was pressing his finger to his lips in a gesture while the kids giggled. Their secret adventure had been meticulously documented. just not shared with me. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I felt something cold and calculating take over. The same analytical mindset that made me excellent at my job. I began taking screenshots, downloading evidence, noting timestamps. Part of me couldn't believe I was investigating my own family, but the cybersecurity expert in me recognized a breach when I saw one. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was digital. They'd used technology, my professional domain, to document their abandonment of me, then broadcast it publicly on my birthday. I stared at my reflection in the black mirror of my computer screen when it went to sleep. The woman looking back had dark circles under her eyes and a hardness I didn't recognize. In that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't call. I wouldn't comment on the post or contact any of our friends. Instead, I would wait. By noon, I'd showered and dressed in my favorite outfit, a charcoal pencil skirt and emerald blouse that Greg always said made my eyes pop. I applied makeup carefully, took a selfie in my office chair, and uploaded it to my rarely used Instagram with the caption, "Birthday peace and quiet. Time to focus on what really matters." #new chapter. Then I turned to my extensive collection of digital tools. Software that could track, monitor, and yes, if necessary, infiltrate. Tools I used professionally to test client vulnerabilities, never for personal vendettas. Till now. I created a secure command center on my secondary monitors, pulling up access to our home network, our family's digital footprint and Greg's company email, which I'd helped set up years ago. The familiar rhythm of code and strategy calmed me. This was my territory. While Greg might have orchestrated a spectacular vacation betrayal, he had forgotten one crucial detail. In our household, I controlled the digital domain. At exactly 2:17 p.m., my phone began vibrating continuously. First came text from Greg. "Rachel, please call me back. It's urgent." Then from my son. "Mom, something weird is happening with Dad's work stuff." From Emma. "Mommy, are you mad at us?" I watched the notifications pile up without opening them, a small smile playing on my lips. I hadn't even begun my counterattack yet. They were just experiencing the first tremors of what would become their digital apocalypse. Because while they were living it up in Bali, they'd left behind something invaluable: access to every device, account, and digital secret they possessed. And I was just getting started. I watched the parade of text messages for another 20 minutes before setting my phone face down on my desk. The desperate pleas from my family would have to wait. First, I needed to prepare. My home office transformed into a war room as I pulled the blinds and set up my 3 auxiliary monitors. Photos of our family vacation to Lake Tahoe last summer stared back at me from the wall. Greg with his arm around me, Tyler and Emma building sandcastles. We looked happy. Maybe we were. Or maybe I'd been too blind to see the cracks forming beneath the surface. I reached for the framed family photo and placed it face down. Focus, Rachel. As a cybersecurity consultant, I'd built a reputation for thoroughness. Companies hired me to find weaknesses in their systems before real attackers could exploit them. I'd developed a methodical approach: reconnaissance, vulnerability assessment, controlled exploitation, and documentation. Today I'd use those same steps on my own family. First, I needed full visibility. I activated the remote monitoring software I'd installed on our family devices, ostensibly to protect the kids from online predators. Greg had given distracted consent months ago, not understanding the depth of access he was granting me. Within minutes, I could see every keystroke, message, and search from their devices. "Let's see what else you've been hiding," I whispered, fingers flying across my mechanical keyboard. Greg's work email was my first target. As the regional sales director for a pharmaceutical company, his digital footprint was substantial. I'd helped him set up his accounts years ago, creating a password system he could remember. He'd promised to change it regularly, but knowing Greg, he hadn't bothered. Sure enough, his standard password with the quarterly modification got me in immediately. I shook my head. After years of my security lectures, he still used predictable patterns. His inbox revealed meetings scheduled during my birthday week labeled Bali planning, do not share. One email to his assistant read, "Rachel doesn't suspect anything. Keep all Bali-related calls to my cell, not the office line." My stomach clenched. The betrayal had roots deeper than a spontaneous trip. In another folder, I found conversations with his boss requesting the time off. Family emergency requiring immediate travel. Rachel's mother is handling it, so I'm taking the kids to give her space. A complete fabrication. My mother lived in Arizona and was perfectly healthy. I hesitated before my next move. Crossing this line meant no turning back. But the memory of my son's cruel captions steeled my resolve. I drafted an email from Greg's account to his entire department. Team, I've been reflecting on our recent strategy and have concerns about the ethical implications. I'll be addressing these with leadership upon my return. In the meantime, please hold on implementing the Gardner proposal. The Gardner proposal was his department's biggest initiative, one he'd mentioned proudly at dinner parties. My message was vague enough to seem legitimate but alarming enough to raise eyebrows. I scheduled it to send in 3 hours when it would be middle of the night in Bali. Next, I turned to social media. Both kids had accounts I monitored with passwords I knew. Emma's TikTok drafts folder contained several videos she'd created but hadn't posted, including one where she practiced saying, "Mom doesn't know yet, but we're surprising her by leaving for her birthday. She'll be so jealous." The video was dated 2 weeks ago. She'd been rehearsing their betrayal. I exported copies of everything for documentation, then implemented phase 2, controlled chaos. First, I changed the privacy settings on Tyler's Facebook account from friends to public, making his insulting birthday post visible to everyone. Then I navigated to Greg's rarely used Twitter account and followed several controversial political figures and questionable adult entertainment accounts. Nothing explicit enough to trigger account restrictions, but embarrassing nonetheless for a pharmaceutical executive. For Emma's Instagram, I simply unblocked a girl from school who she'd had a falling out with. Someone who would immediately notice and likely comment on her Bali posts. Small digital paper cuts, but they would sting. My phone buzzed again with Greg's 10th call in an hour. This time I answered, putting it on speaker while continuing to work. "Rachel, thank God." Greg's voice sounded strained. "Something's wrong with my work email. People are replying to messages I never sent." "That sounds frustrating," I replied neutrally, taking a sip of now cold coffee. Did you do something?" The accusation in his tone made my fingers pause on the keyboard. "Why would your email issues have anything to do with me?" I asked, injecting confusion into my voice. "I'm just sitting here enjoying my quiet birthday." "Rachel, please." His voice dropped to a whisper. "The kids don't know I'm calling. Look, the trip was supposed to be a surprise. We're coming back with something special for you. It was just a joke." "A joke," I repeated flatly. "Like Tyler's post about me being too predictable? That kind of joke." Silence. "Then, he shouldn't have written that. I'll make him take it down." "Don't bother. Everyone's seen it by now." I opened his company's internal directory and began identifying key contacts. "Including your boss, apparently." He left a laughing emoji. More silence. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head, calculating the professional damage. "Rachel, my work account. Happy birthday to me, right?" I cut him off. "Enjoy Bali, Greg. I have a client meeting." I hung up before he could respond and blocked his number. It wouldn't stop him for long, but it would increase his panic. Next came the surgical strike. I drafted carefully worded emails to 3 of Greg's colleagues from his address, each containing vague references to conversations that never happened, as we discussed regarding the compliance concerns, and following up on our private conversation about the team restructure. Seeds of doubt planted with precision. By the time my doorbell rang at 4:30 p.m., I'd executed the first wave of my digital offensive. My best friend Vanessa stood on the porch holding a bottle of wine and a birthday cake. "Please tell me you haven't been alone all day," she said, pulling me into a hug. I saw Tyler's post and tried calling. I led her inside, suddenly aware I'd barely moved from my office in hours. "I've been busy," I said, gesturing vaguely toward my command center. "Actually, I could use your opinion on something." Vanessa followed me into the office, her eyes widening at the multiple screens displaying my family's digital lives. The wine bottle froze halfway to the desk. "Rachel," she whispered, "what are you doing?" I smiled, the first genuine smile of the day. "I'm showing my family exactly how predictable I'm not." The concerned look on her face made me pause. For a moment I saw my actions through her eyes. The darkened room, the multiple screens, the systematic dismantling of my family's digital presence. I looked like the villain in a tech thriller. But then my phone lit up with a notification. Greg trying to reach me through his mother's Facebook account now. They left me, Vanessa, I said quietly, on my birthday, and told the world I wasn't worth including. Vanessa set down the wine and squeezed my shoulder. I get it, but this seems excessive, I supplied. I was going to say dangerous. For you, not just them. I turned back to my screens where a new email had appeared in Greg's work account. His boss asking for clarification about the cryptic message I'd sent. Maybe, I admitted. But I'm just getting started. After Vanessa left, reluctantly with promises to check on me later, I sat alone in my darkened office, birthday cake untouched beside me. The wine bottle stood empty, my single glass having turned into 3 as the evening progressed. Outside, neighborhood children played in the golden hour light, their laughter drifting through my window like sounds from another dimension. I checked my watch. 7:15 p.m. In Bali the sun would be rising. My family would be waking to the digital chaos I'd engineered. Time to escalate. Greg's pharmaceutical company took compliance seriously, as they should, given the industry's strict regulations. During our early marriage, he'd often griped about the mandatory ethics training and disclosure requirements. It's excessive, he'd complained. Like they expect us all to be criminals. Now I would use that robust compliance structure against him. I navigated to his company's anonymous ethics hotline, a system I knew well since I'd consulted on similar setups for clients. Using a VPN and a temporary email address, I submitted a carefully worded tip. I have concerns about Greg Walker's handling of expense reports and potential conflicts of interest with Pacific Region medical distributors. Multiple instances suggest pattern of misconduct requiring review. Vague enough to avoid clear falsehood, specific enough to trigger an investigation. The compliance team would have to follow protocol, especially with the mention of Pacific Region distributors, Greg's territory. Next, I returned to Greg's email and forwarded several legitimate work documents to my secured server. Nothing confidential or truly damaging. I wasn't looking to destroy his career entirely, but enough internal communications to give me leverage. Information was currency in situations like this. My phone chimed with a text from Tyler. Mom, please answer, Dad is freaking out and Emma won't stop crying. What did you do? No punctuation, typical of my son when upset. I opened his message thread to find a stream of increasingly desperate texts. Between the lines of teenage drama, I glimpsed genuine fear. My hands hovered over the keyboard, maternal instinct urging me to reassure him. Instead, I set the phone aside and turned to my daughter's digital footprint. Emma had been posting regularly from Bali. Poolside selfies, elaborate room service breakfasts, videos of beachfront sunrises. Her TikTok account showed 3 new drafts from today. Tear-streaked faces whispered, please. Mom, if you're watching this, please stop. Dad says someone's messing with his work stuff and we're scared. She hadn't posted them yet. Waiting for approval from Greg, probably. I felt a twinge of remorse, quickly swallowed by the memory of her caption. Mom's birthday is boring every year anyway. At 9 years old she was already dismissing me. So she was just a child. My child. My revenge wasn't aimed at her, but the digital web I'd spun was ensnaring everyone. I hadn't anticipated how quickly the collateral damage would spread. A new email alert pulled my attention back to Greg's account. His boss had called an emergency meeting with the department heads for Monday morning, cutting short everyone's weekend plans. Subject line: Urgent review of Pacific strategy and team communications. In the thread, colleagues expressed confusion and concern. One wrote, did anyone else receive strange emails from Greg yesterday? Something feels off. The ripples were becoming waves. I switched to the company's internal messaging system, where a group chat showed several team members speculating about Greg's erratic communications. Maybe he's been hacked? Someone suggested. Or maybe Bali has stronger drinks than we thought, replied another, attaching a screenshot of Tyler's Facebook post. My digital attack was spilling beyond Greg, affecting his innocent coworkers. People who'd done nothing to me were now working weekend hours, adjusting their plans, feeling unsettled. The compliance tip would eventually be found baseless, but not before causing significant disruption. An investigation would mean interviews, document reviews, reputation questions. Greg had done nothing wrong professionally, at least nothing I knew about. Was I crossing a line? I rubbed my temples, feeling the whine headache beginning. The satisfaction I'd felt earlier was giving way to something heavier. My laptop pinged with an alert. Emma's Instagram account was live streaming. I clicked immediately. My daughter's tear-stained face filled the screen, her hotel room visible in the background. "I don't know who's watching," she whispered, "but something really bad is happening. Dad's work computer is doing weird things, and now my Instagram posted pictures I didn't share." The view count showed 17 people watching, mostly her friends from school. "We were supposed to bring Mom a special present from Bali," Emma continued, wiping her nose with her sleeve. "It was going to be a surprise, but now everything's ruined." Greg appeared suddenly, lunging for the phone. "Emma. What are you?" The stream cut off abruptly. My heart pounded as I realized my daughter had just broadcast their fear to her classmates. By tomorrow, parents would be texting me asking questions. The school grapevine would be buzzing with speculation. This wasn't contained anymore. This wasn't just between us. My phone rang. Vanessa again. "Rachel, what the hell is happening?" she demanded without preamble. "I just got a call from Lisa Peterson asking if you're okay." She said Emma was crying on Instagram about some emergency in Bali. Lisa, PTA president and neighborhood gossip central. "Perfect. Things are getting complicated," I admitted. "You need to stop whatever you're doing," Vanessa's voice was firm. "I know they hurt you, but this is going too far. There could be legal consequences if you're interfering with Greg's work." She wasn't wrong. Unauthorized access to business systems, even my husband's, potentially crossed legal boundaries. What had started as personal revenge was veering into murky territory. "I'm not doing anything illegal," I said defensively, though uncertainty crept in. The lines between ethical penetration testing and malicious hacking had always been clear in my professional life. Why were they blurring now? "Maybe not technically," Vanessa countered, "but you're better than this, Rachel. This isn't who you are." Wasn't it though? The methodical dismantling of digital weaknesses was exactly who I was professionally. I just never turned those skills against my own family. As we spoke, a new email appeared in my personal account, from Greg's company's legal department. Subject: Unauthorized system access. Cease and desist. They'd traced the activity back to my IP address faster than I'd anticipated. Of course they had. Pharmaceutical companies invested heavily in cybersecurity. I'd underestimated their response time. "Vanessa, I need to go," I said, staring at the email. "Things are moving quickly. Rachel, please tell me you're stopping this now." I ended the call without answering and opened the legal email. Formal language outlined potential criminal charges, evidence preservation requirements, and a clear threat of immediate legal action unless all activities ceased. My birthday revenge was spiraling beyond my control. What had started as a targeted lesson in digital consequences was now threatening my career, my freedom, and my relationship with my children. The house phone rang, a line we kept mainly for emergencies. The caller ID showed my mother-in-law's number. It was time to decide how far I was willing to go. I let the house phone ring until the answering machine picked up. My mother-in-law's voice filled the silent room. "Rachel, I know you're there. Greg just called us in a panic. Whatever's happening, you need to stop it right now. The children are terrified and..." I hit the delete button, cutting her off mid-sentence. Marilyn had never approved of me, always suggesting I wasn't good enough for her precious son. Her comment on Tyler's post proved where her loyalties lay. Still, her concern for the children struck a nerve. Were they truly terrified or just inconvenienced? Had my digital offensive gone too far? The cease and desist email from Greg's company demanded immediate response. If I ignored it, they'd escalate to law enforcement. My consultancy reputation would be destroyed. No client would trust a cybersecurity expert facing criminal charges. I poured myself a glass of water, trying to clear my wine-fogged head. The digital trail I'd created was extensive but not untraceable. I needed to cover my tracks before responding. My security phone, the one not linked to any personal accounts, chimed with an encrypted message. My automated security system had detected unusual login attempts on my professional server. Someone was trying to access my client files. I froze. Only a handful of people knew about that server. Racing back to my workstation, I initiated an emergency lockdown protocol and began tracking the intrusion attempt. The IP address originated from Bali, specifically the Four Seasons Resort. Greg was fighting back. But how? He lacked the technical skills for this level of counterattack. Unless a cold realization washed over me. Greg must have hired someone, perhaps one of the hotel's IT staff or a local hacker. My husband knew enough about my work to understand where to look, even if he couldn't do the technical work himself. This changed everything. If Greg was willing to target my professional systems, he was declaring digital war on the one thing I truly valued beyond family, my career and reputation. My phone lit up with a video call request from an unknown international number. I hesitated, then accepted. Greg's face appeared, haggard and unshaven. Behind him, a lavish hotel suite stood in disarray, clothes thrown about, room service trays abandoned. "You've gone too far," he said, voice low and controlled. "I've hired someone to protect us from whatever you're doing." "Protect you?" I laughed bitterly. "By attacking my professional server? That's a federal offense, Greg." His eyes widened slightly. He hadn't known the specifics of what his hired gun was doing. "Call them off," I demanded. "Now. Only if you stop whatever you're doing to my work accounts. The company's legal team is involved, Rachel. This isn't a game anymore." I noticed the camera angle shift slightly, revealing Emma curled up in a chair behind him, clutching her stuffed rabbit, the one I'd given her for her 7th birthday. She looked small and lost, nothing like the sassy girl from the social media posts. "Where's Tyler?" I asked, softer now. Greg adjusted the camera to show our son sitting on the floor against the wall, headphones on, staring blankly at his phone. Even through the screen I could see he'd been crying. "They don't understand what's happening," Greg said. "They just know something's wrong and their mother won't answer their messages." His voice cracked slightly. "Whatever you think of me, they don't deserve this." The sight of my children suffering punctured my vengeful resolve. This wasn't who I wanted to be, someone who terrorized her own children to punish their father. "I need to speak to them," I said. Greg hesitated, then nodded. "Kids, Mom wants to talk to you." Tyler looked up first, reluctantly removing his headphones. Emma unfolded from her chair and approached the screen cautiously, as if I might reach through it. "Mom." Tyler's voice sounded younger than his 12 years. "Are you making Dad's computer do weird things? And my Instagram?" Emma added, tear tracks visible on her cheeks. Their fear was palpable, directed not at Greg's betrayal but at my reaction to it. In their eyes, I had transformed from stable, predictable mom to unpredictable digital boogeyman. "I'm sorry," I said, the words catching in my throat. "I was upset about being left behind." "It was supposed to be a surprise," Emma blurted out. "We're getting you a special necklace from the Bali jewelry market. Dad said we had to come early to have it custom made." "What?" I looked at Greg, who rubbed his face wearily. "The trip was always meant to include you," he explained. "We were flying back tomorrow to surprise you with tickets for your actual birthday weekend. The kids and I came early to arrange everything and pick out something special." "But Tyler's post was a stupid mistake," Greg finished, glaring at our son. "He was supposed to post a decoy message so you wouldn't suspect, but he went off script." Tyler looked down, shoulders hunched. "I thought it would be funnier." "I didn't mean it, Mom." The narrative I'd constructed began crumbling. My family hadn't abandoned me. They'd planned an elaborate surprise that went horribly wrong. Yet doubt lingered. The caption about me being predictable. "Poor choice of words," Greg admitted. "But the surprise was because you're always so organized and plan everything yourself. We wanted to create something unexpected for once." I thought about the emails I'd found planning the secret trip, the social media posts. Could I have misinterpreted everything so catastrophically? A notification pinged on my laptop. Another intrusion attempt on my server. "Tell your hacker to stop," I said sharply to Greg. "I don't know how to reach them directly. The hotel concierge arranged it." That explained the amateurish approach. Not a professional, just someone with basic skills trying to earn extra cash from a desperate tourist. I made a decision. "I'll stop what I'm doing to your work accounts if you get your hired help to back off my systems. Then we really talk about what happened today." Greg nodded, relief visible in his posture. "I'll go down to the concierge right now." As he stepped away from the camera, Emma moved closer to the screen. Are you still mad at us, Mommy? She whispered. The question pierced straight through my anger. No, sweetheart. I was hurt and confused, but I'm not mad anymore. Will you stop making scary things happen to our phones? I nodded, throat tight. Yes. Everything will go back to normal. Tyler appeared behind his sister. Dad said we're coming home early now. The surprise is ruined anyway. I think that's for the best, I agreed, watching their faces carefully. We all need to talk face to face. Are you and Dad getting divorced? Tyler asked bluntly, the question I'd been dreading. I hesitated. I don't know. But whatever happens between Dad and me, I will always be your mother. That never changes. Greg returned, his face showing a mixture of exhaustion and cautious hope. It's done. The concierge is calling off his contact. I'll verify that, I said, turning to my security dashboard. The intrusion attempts had indeed stopped. We'll be on the first flight home, Greg said. 19 hours from now. I nodded, suddenly overwhelmed by the thought of facing them in person after the digital warfare we just engaged in. Rachel, Greg said softly, we have a lot to talk about. That was the understatement of the year. My birthday revenge had revealed truths about all of us. My capacity for calculated harm, Greg's poor communication, our children caught in the crossfire. Whatever we'd been before today, we couldn't go back to it. I'll be waiting, I promised, ending the call. Then I began the painstaking process of undoing the digital damage I'd caused, wondering if our relationship could be repaired as easily. The following 19 hours stretched like taffy. I spent most of that time methodically undoing my digital handiwork, removing the anonymous ethics complaint, citing a mistaken submission, reversing changes to social media accounts, and drafting a careful email from Greg's work account explaining that his communications had been compromised while traveling, and apologizing for any confusion. I also composed a formal response to the cease and desist letter, carefully worded to acknowledge the situation without admitting explicit wrongdoing. My career had to be salvaged even if my marriage might not be. Vanessa came by in the morning with coffee and a sympathetic ear. I told her everything. The misunderstanding, my overreaction, the upcoming confrontation. So it was all a birthday surprise gone wrong? She asked, helping me clean up the evidence of my wine-fueled revenge spree. Apparently. I rubbed my temples, fighting a combination of hangover and emotional exhaustion. But there's more to it. This whole situation exposed cracks I didn't want to see. What will you do when they get here? I stared out the window at the perfect suburban street. I honestly don't know. Their flight landed at 5:17 p.m. I tracked it obsessively, watching as they cleared customs and began the drive home. At 7:03 p.m., headlights swept across the living room wall. Car doors slammed. Hushed voices approached. I debated how to position myself for this moment. Seated calmly at the kitchen table? Standing formally in the foyer? In the end, I simply opened the front door and waited. Greg appeared first, looking like he'd aged 5 years in 24 hours. Tyler and Emma trudged behind him, jet-lagged and subdued. The contrast between these exhausted travelers and the beaming vacationers from yesterday's social media posts was stark. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Emma dropped her backpack and rushed forward, wrapping her arms around my waist. "I'm sorry, Mom," she mumbled into my sweater. "I didn't mean what I said." I stroked her hair, noticing how tangled it was from the long flight. "I know, sweetheart." Tyler approached cautiously, hovering at the threshold. "The necklace got confiscated by airport security," he said. "They thought the stones were, not allowed or something." "It's okay," I assured him, extending one arm while keeping the other around Emma. After a moment's hesitation, he stepped into my embrace. Over their heads I met Greg's gaze. His expression was unreadable, equal parts exhaustion, wariness, and something that might have been hope. "Why don't you two go upstairs and get cleaned up?" he suggested gently. "Mom and I need to talk." The kids extracted themselves reluctantly, sensing the fragility of the moment. As they trudged upstairs, Greg set down their luggage and closed the front door. "We need ground rules," he said quietly. I nodded, leading the way to the kitchen. The untouched birthday cake still sat on the counter, its candles unlit. Greg noticed it and winced. "I expected shouting," I admitted, taking a seat at the island. "I spent hours rehearsing what to say. I'm too tired to shout." He remained standing, maintaining distance between us. What you did was terrifying, Rachel. You became someone I didn't recognize. The same could be said for you, I countered. The secretive planning, the misleading emails, Tyler's post. It looked like abandonment from where I stood. It was supposed to be a surprise, not psychological warfare. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. But you're right. We both made mistakes. I poured 2 glasses of water, sliding one toward him. Let's start with honesty. Was this trip really planned as a surprise for me? Or did you decide to bring me into it only after I began dismantling your digital life? Greg took a long drink, then set the glass down carefully. It was always meant to include you. I swear it. The jeweler in Bali needed 4 days to create the piece we commissioned. We were supposed to return, surprise you with it, then reveal we were all flying back together for a family vacation. And the social media posts? The captions about me being boring and predictable. His shoulders slumped. That was completely unplanned. Tyler went off script and Emma followed his lead. I should have monitored what they were posting, but I was busy with the surprise arrangements. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But trust, once fractured, doesn't mend instantly. I accessed your emails, I admitted. You've been planning this for weeks, keeping it from me deliberately. It was meant to be a happy surprise, he insisted. You're always so in control, handling everything for everyone. Just once, I wanted to create something special without your input. By disappearing on my actual birthday? Leaving me to wake up alone? He had the grace to look ashamed. The timing worked with the kids' school schedule. We'd be back for your weekend celebration. It made sense on paper. Plans. Logistics. The hallmarks of Greg's thinking. As a sales director, he saw everything as a campaign to be executed, not considering the emotional impact until too late. What happens now? I asked. Greg finally sat down, the bar stool creaking under his weight. I don't know. What you did, accessing my work accounts, filing an ethics complaint, it crossed lines, Rachel. Professional and personal. I know. No excuses, no justifications. The cold light of day had illuminated the severity of my actions. But, he continued slowly, what I allowed to happen hurt you deeply. I should have been more thoughtful about how it would feel for you to wake up alone on your birthday to see those posts. A fragile silence settled between us, the weight of mutual transgressions heavy in the air. I think we need help, I said finally. Professional help. This isn't just about a birthday gone wrong. It's about trust, communication, respect. Greg nodded. Agreed. From upstairs came the sound of running water, normalcy attempting to reassert itself. The kids are scared, he said. Not just of what happened but of what it means for us. For them. I know. I need to talk to them, especially Tyler. His post may have been thoughtless, but my reaction was far worse. Greg reached across the counter, not quite touching my hand but close. Can we agree to a truce? No more digital warfare while we figure this out. I've already reversed everything I could, I assured him. Your work accounts are clear. The ethics complaint is withdrawn. Relief flashed across his face. Thank you. But we need boundaries, I added firmly. Digital and otherwise. We can't go back to how things were. I don't think either of us wants that, he agreed. We've both seen sides of each other we can't unsee. That night, after awkward family conversations and promises of better tomorrows, I sat alone in my office. The command center now dismantled, monitors dark. On my primary screen, I opened a new document and began typing. Professional boundaries in a digital age, ethical considerations. My experience, though born of personal pain, had revealed vulnerabilities and ethical questions I'd never fully considered in my work. Perhaps some good could come from this. A new framework for digital responsibility in my consulting practice. As I typed, an email notification appeared. A message from Greg sent from his personal account to mine. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Not as punishment but because we both need space to process. I've scheduled a consultation with a marriage counselor for next week. Whatever happens next, I want you to know I never meant to hurt you. The irony is, I planned all this because I wanted to be less predictable, more spontaneous. Clearly I have a lot to learn. Happy belated birthday, Rachel. I'm sorry for everything. Gee. I closed my laptop, tears finally coming after the longest birthday of my life. Tomorrow would bring difficult conversations, tentative trust building, and the slow reconstruction of family bonds. But tonight I would simply rest, letting go of the digital vigilante I'd briefly become. That power remained mine, a reminder that I was anything but predictable, but wielding it had taught me its true cost.